point of privilege. Just one moment. Point of privilege, Councilor Shiner.
Madam Speaker, I sat here listening to the debate that got extremely personal yesterday, where members of council were not talking about what their communities wanted, but they were talking about what they wanted. I saw it getting to the point where this morning, and I appreciate the fact that Councilor de Beer-Maker stood up to apologize, that probably some of the worst comments I've ever seen in this council chambers, and this morning's was a continued embarrassment, because we're supposed to be debating the issue on behalf of our constituents and representing them, not talking about a voting record or showing something on a screen that you have about another member of council. That embarrasses me and that embarrasses our entire council. And it's time we grow up and get into the debate about the issue and not the debate about the person.
Thank you, Councilor Shiner. Is a point of order point of personal privilege? Okay, Councilor Fletcher, what's your point?
So, in response to Councilor Shiner, and I appreciate that, what he said, but would advise him and councillors, I feel strongly that one of the things here around councillors' privilege was the local councillor has asked for a consultation and was simply denied by the committee, by the chair, and by the mover of the motion. And when we're talking about bridging privileges here, Councilor Shiner, that's what happened. And that would mean we would have a much better...
Okay, you know what? I think that members of council are abusing... No, Councilor Fletcher, I think that members of council are abusing the procedure bylaws and abusing this council. And I want to say that I have a letter that I'm going to distribute to every member of council on the decorum of council, and I'm going to distribute this letter today to all members of council on the number of complaints that I've received from the public on watching council meetings and how they're disgusted. So, we're going to continue with the agenda. Councilor Mammoliti.
Well, let me start by saying thank you to Councilor Shiner for standing up, and I appreciate it very much. But I'm one that prides himself on taking care of himself as well, so I'm really not afraid to stand up here and talk about the issues. Talk about the issues that I think are important, and I will always and continue to support local councillors when they have ideas and when they think they should bring them forward after a consultation. And back then, Councilor Carroll, you should know that Councilor Ray lobbied all of us and wanted us to support his ideas. And at that time, it was an idea. So I supported that idea. That idea came out in the last election. And it became an issue in the last election. And me running for one of the key positions, as you know, last election, I heard it loud and clear that Jarvis was an issue that people didn't want in the city. And so this, you may or may not have mentioned that I was in the room when you played your video, but the video of me speaking was taken well before the election. And so during the election, that's when people talk about the mandate for the next 4 years. And I think that the mayor has got it right with respect to what happened in that particular election. What else the mayor's got right, Councilor Carroll, is that we have a problem. And I've seen the numbers. I am now looking through every line-by-line item, and I've come to realize that we have made a lot of mistakes with respect to some of the decisions that we've made, including myself supporting the local councillor back then. And you, Councilor Carroll, through the chair, as the former budget chief, were in a position to actually look at these numbers and tell council that we were heading down a path that would be destructive to the point of which we are here today. And it's because of decisions that other former budget chiefs, such as Councilor Carroll, has made that put us in the predicament that we are in today.
All right, get on.
And so you can play all the videos you like, Councilor Carroll. You were in the position the last time. You have a lot to answer for. And as chair of one of the committees that is going to look deep, you have to answer to all the people when the time comes as to why we need to make the decisions that we need to make. Because now that you're not in the position, you choose to insult, you choose to stand up and try and embarrass instead of being a leader, and I thought you were a leader when you held the positions that you did. Now you want to hold a position of opposition.
Carroll?
I'm prepared to wait to be recognized. Madam Speaker, on a point of personal privilege, I'm not going to ask for the apology that you asked of Councillor de Bearmaker yesterday. I'll just remind Council that Council votes in budgets.
Councillor Thompson, did you have a point of personal privilege?
I do, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Councillor Thompson.
Madam Speaker, as a member of this council, we've all been duly elected to represent certainly the interests of our respective communities, but the community and certainly the city as a whole. It appears to me, Madam Speaker, as a member of this council, I'm listening to a lot of the conversation that's taking place. We are not speaking to issues, we're speaking at or against or personally inflicting our personal perspective on individual members of council, and that's coming from across the board. I think really the public and the Toronto resident deserve respect from this council to ensure that the matters that are in front of us as it relates to reports and that we ought to discuss, we ought to discuss. It's becoming way too personal. I don't agree with it. I think it's disrespectful to all of us and the residents of Toronto. We have all been elected to represent their interests. This is not doing that. I'd ask members to really contain themselves. And it doesn't matter what side we stand on. We really need to be reflective and respectful of one another. We're not being so. I think it needs to stop, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Councillor Thompson, I agree, but on the other hand, when Councillor Carroll made her presentation, it was all about Councillor Mammoliti, so that should be directed to Councillor Carroll as well. I agree 100%, but it started off, so, you know, yes, Councillor Carroll should have been cut off and not proceeded with her presentation. Councillor Mammoliti? Councillor Mammoliti. Okay. Yes, what is your point of personal privilege? Yes, I'm turning it on.
Madam Speaker, on a point of personal privilege, I wonder if you could explain to me how making a speech about how in years past we were less partisan and issue focused needed to be cut off?
Councillor Carroll, let's just continue because it's not getting anywhere. We're just going to be attacking each other, and Councillor Carroll, if you don't understand that part. Councillor Mammoliti, if you can continue, please.
So, after we look at what's in front of us and make a decision, the decision I've made is to support Councillor Min Wong's vision. And Councillor Min Wong's vision really does talk about the future of bike lanes. And it's not about just placing them anywhere. He's got an idea, he's brought it forward, and it's been vented through his committee, and now is in front of us. And that talks about utilizing roads that may not be as controversial, may not be main roads that, yes, traffic can get to extreme points on, and become dangerous for cyclists. It talks about utilizing roads that may not be mainstream roads, and I don't see anything wrong with that either. And one of the most important factors of why I want to support Councillor Min Wong on this, at the risk of being a videotape showing up 6 or 7 years from now, is that it's separated. The lanes are separated. Much more progress, I think, that we've made in the past. You can travel anywhere in the world and you'll see that their bike lanes are separated. There's a barrier in between of some kind. That is safe for cyclists. I don't understand why there's opposition to that. And I will continue to say that I think we're doing the right thing here with respect to a long-term, official kind of plan for cyclists. Not just throwing them out willy-nilly wherever you feel that they belong, and wherever people feel that they should just throw bike lanes.
Councillor Mammoliti, would you like an extension?
So I'll maintain my yes, please.
Okay, recorded vote.
So it took me about 3 seconds to realize what you said.
Synopsis.
That's a long time.
Yes, I has coffee yet.
I haven't had my coffee yet. I haven't finished.
Councilor Carroll, we're in the middle of a vote.
Councilor Milchin and Councilor Mihevc. Councilor Mammoliti, please.
Councilor Doucette, please.
Councilor McMahon? Councilor Mihevc, Councilor DeBearmaker. No, you have to stay in your seats once you vote. Once we've completed the vote, you're welcome to get up and walk around.
The motion to extend the speaking time carries 39 to 2.
Thank you. Okay, Councilor Mammoliti, you can continue.
So I'm going to support what's in front of us because there's actually some vision in this, the same vision that the local councillor had even on Jarvis, yes, a number of years ago. Where there's vision, it's worthwhile taking a look at. I'll support this endeavor as well because I think it's important. And again, there's separated lanes, which nobody has really talked about. One of the other things that I think nobody's talked about either is, and what I consider a huge problem on both ends of the spectrum. We haven't talked about the education that's involved with drivers and with cyclists around the rules of the road. I think that that's a big component here, and I'm not sure when we're going to deal with that. But one of the biggest problems we've got, and one of the reasons they're not getting along, is because there's not enough awareness out there with respect to how to drive and how to ride with each other. And that's become, that's led into a lot of anger, I think, on the street. So I think that's important. And this is directly to the cyclists, because I see it every day. And I really don't mean to incite. I just say to you, if you want to use the roads like everyone else, you have to adhere to the rules of the roads. You can't just go through a red light. You can't just turn wherever you want. You can't just cut across the lanes. It's unsafe. You've got to abide by the rules of the road. And that's one of the reasons that people are upset, is because you feel, what I can see, is you feel that you're above the rules of the road, and you're not. And if you want anyone to support you in the future, you must show that you're abiding to the rules of the road. And once you do that, I think we can get a little further with respect to supporting you in the future.
Thank you, Councilor Mammoliti.